Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam review class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Dhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानो सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam overview class. We are discussing from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are discussing the very beautiful section of Uddhava Gita. So we discussed so far how Uddhava, when he came to know that Krishna is about to depart along with his dynasty, he went to Krishna and said, "Oh Krishna, I cannot bear separation from your lotus feet. Please take me also with you." So Krishna, he instructed Uddhava to take renounced order of life and to go to Badrikashram and instruct the sages there, because he could not give association to these sages. And then he instructs in detail the process of jnana. But then after hearing these instructions, Uddhava says, "O Krishna, the knowledge of Gyan which you have given me, it is very, very difficult. Please instruct me how to accomplish this Gyan in my life." So that was the first question in this Uddhava Gita. And Krishna narrates the conversation between Avadhut Brahmana and Yadu Maharaj, how one can see, one can learn from all the things which he's seeing in this world, as this Avadhut Brahman had 24 gurus. And then he described the uselessness of fruitive acts, and then he refuted the philosophy of karma mimamsa. Then Uddhava asked, how did Jiva become bound up, and by what symptoms a Nitya Siddha person, Nitya Siddha Jiva can be identified. So Krishna explained how that spirit soul is never entangled. It is just illusion. It is just misidentification. And then Krishna explained the knowledge of karma, jnana, and ultimately devotional service, and how association of devotees can uh, make one free from the bondage and one can become liberated. Then Uddhava asked about what type of person do you consider to be your devotee, and what type of devotional service is approved by great devotees. That was the third question. So Krishna explains the qualities of mixed devotees and the pure devotees, and then he explains the glories of association of devotees, and ultimately establishes the position of gopis to be the supreme most devotees. So now Uddhava, he heard about karma, jnana, then jnana mishra, and so many types of bhakti. So ultimately Uddhava was confused. So he asks the fourth question, that doubts in my heart does not go away. Please explain me, what should I do? Then Krishna explains the process again in detail, and that's what we were discussing. The Lord explains that how the path of jnana, by this process of jnana, one can actually cultivate the mode of goodness, and how this entire universe is existing because of the interaction of the three modes of material nature. So that's what we discussed so far. So in the 13th chapter, Krishna, he continues the discussion. So 13th chapter is entitled as the Hamsa Avatar answers the questions of the sons of Brahma. So in this 13th chapter, Krishna continues the discussion of how to cultivate the mode of goodness. So he says there are three modes which control the material intelligence of a living entity. So he says by material goodness, one can actually conquer the other lower modes. Modes of passion and modes of ignorance can be conquered by cultivation of this mode of goodness. And ultimately, what you have to do, O Uddhava, and basically he's telling to all the living entities that even one should transcend the mode of goodness and come to the transcendental goodness, that is Vishuddha Sattva. So therefore, in this material world, there is always a competition which is happening between the three modes. Rajas, as Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Rajas tamas chabhibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata, Rajas sattvam tamaschaiva tamas sattvam rajas tadha. There is always a competition going on between the three modes of nature. Sometimes goodness becomes prominent, sometimes passion, and sometimes ignorance. So therefore, it is described that mode of goodness is the perfect platform to practice Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada, he would give the example of a airport. If somebody wants to take a flight, then a person who is staying near the airport or who is staying in the airport campus, he can very easily catch the flight. Similarly, if we want to go to the spiritual world, we have to catch a flight. That is the Vaikuntha Airlines. So to catch that flight, we have to come to the platform of mode of goodness. That is the ideal conducive environment. So therefore, in one of the purports in the first canto, Prabhupada writes a very wonderful thing, because it is described here that material goodness ultimately helps us to transcend the mode of goodness. Yes, we are discussing the 13th chapter. So material goodness ultimately helps to transcend the modes of passion and ignorance, and ultimately can help us to reach the transcendental platform. So in the first canto, 3rd chapter, 44th verse purport, Prabhupada writes, no one can give rapt attention who is not pure in the mind. No one can become pure in the mind who is not pure in action. And nobody can be pure in action who is not pure in his eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So ultimately, everything boils down to the four basic activities. As Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, so whatever you see in this world, O Arjuna, everything is tainted by a particular mode. So therefore, our responsibility as a sadhaka is we have to cultivate the mode of goodness. So then Krishna continues, he says, from increase in sattva, dharma, which is characterized by secondary bhakti to me, becomes prominent. So basically, dharma may not actually bring one to transcendental platform. That is a secondary way of serving the Supreme Lord. That's why Krishna says, dharma, which is characterized by secondary bhakti. So it is not a primary type of bhakti, because a person practicing the religious principles may become absorbed in the dharma, artha, and kama. How to strengthen the sattva? He says one can strengthen the sattva by cultivation of things which are in the mode of goodness. That is the second verse. He says by cultivation of sattvic items, one can come to the mode of goodness. And from that mode of goodness, actually, dharma arises. So dharma arises when we are living the life in the mode of goodness. So the purport, it is described there by choosing food, our attitudes, work, and recreation. How we are choosing these four things: our food, our work, our attitude, and our recreation. These things, and the purport describes in great detail all the aspects of our life, how to cultivate the mode of goodness. Very simple, from the basic things to all the sophisticated things which we are doing. Right from the point we get up in the morning, and by the time we go back in the bed, throughout the day we may be doing so many things. We have to learn to be in the mode of goodness always, because if we are not in the mode of goodness, bhakti is very, very difficult. But one more point it is described there. If somebody is just cultivating the mode of goodness, because you may see there are so many people outside also, they are in the mode of goodness, and they may not be the devotees. So it is very, very important that one has to cultivate devotional service also. Without a devotional service, just cultivating the mode of goodness is useless. It is another aspect of material illusion, because many times devotees, they think, oh, sometimes the devotees, they behave in such weird ways. Outside people are more better. They behave such wonderfully, nicely. But the main point which should be considered is he serving the Lord? Service to the Supreme Lord, devotional service is the prime qualification of a devotee. That is a mukhya lakshan. Gauna lakshan may be many, but if somebody is not practicing bhakti, then shrama eva hi kevalam. That's what is described in Bhagavatam also. Dharmasya hi apavargasya na arthayopakalpate. So dharma should not be used for gaining more and more wealth. And if somebody gets wealth, that should not be used for sense gratification. Kamasya na indriya priti labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nartho yascheha swakarmabhi. So the purpose of human form of life is to understand who I am. That is the jivasya tattva jigyasa. So therefore, Krishna, he continues that, dharma, when it is very, very strengthened by sattva, then what happens? All the adharmic, irreligious, sinful, influence gets destroyed. The influence of rajas and tamas completely gets destroyed. That is the power of cultivation of shuddha, and that is the power of cultivation of sattva guna. The gunas, they produce three varieties, and so there are various items. There are 10 items which are described, which can be in the different modes. So in the fourth verse he says, the gunas, they describe three types of scriptures: water, population, place, time, action, birth, meditation, mantra, and samskar. All these things may be in different modes. So 10 things are described there which are produced by various three gunas. Then he says, after describing this, he says the scriptures and all the other items which are described, they may be in the mode of goodness, they may be in the mode of passion, and they may be in the mode of ignorance. That's why we also have heard that scriptures, there are some scriptures who are in the mode of goodness, which are in the mode of goodness. They promote worship of Lord Vishnu. Some scriptures which are in the mode of passion, they promote worship of Indra. The scriptures which are in the mode of ignorance, they promote the worship of predominantly Lord Shiva or Kali. Depends on the people's inclinations. So among these 10 items, Krishna says that the sages, they have praised and recommended those things who are in the mode of sattva guna. Sattva guna is very, very conducive for practicing spiritual life. So therefore it is recommended by the great sages. And those things which are in the mode of passion and ignorance, the sages, they don't show much inclination towards those things. So he says, until one realizes Atma and destroys the gunas, the gross and subtle body will be there. So what he has to do? One must use only sattvic items. Till the time we have this material body, we should use only sattvic items because they increase dharma, they increase jnana. And again, the purport describes in detail how to cultivate the mode of goodness. So now, Uddhava will be thinking, how can Gyan, which arises from sadhana, you know, so Gyan arises from the sadhana, which is done by using intelligence and the senses, right? The senses and the intelligence, they are the transformation of gunas. So how one can destroy gunas by using senses and intelligence? So, Krishna answers this question. He says, just like in the bamboo forest, what happens? The friction creates a fire. The friction between the bamboos creates a fire, and the whole forest is destroyed by the fire, and then ultimately the fire also stops. Similarly, the gunas, from the gunas, the gross and subtle body are generated, because whatever bodies we have, that is ultimately the transformation of the various gunas. We have discussed in detail the process of creation, how from Mahat Tattva Ahankar is generated, and then from Ahankar the gross and material elements they come, then subtle body, the prana, the intelligence, the mind gets generated. So the gunas, they are the source of the generation of gross and subtle bodies. So therefore, what happens? If one cultivates knowledge, that knowledge gives enlightenment, and that enlightenment destroys the gross and subtle bodies, and therefore ultimately the gunas are destroyed themselves. So that is the example he gives. So after hearing all this, now Uddhava, he asks another very important question. So when Uddhava, he hears that one has to cultivate knowledge. When one cultivates knowledge, one can destroy the material existence. So Uddhava, he asks that ignorant people, they may enjoy material life, right? Now this is a very important question we have to understand. He says, ignorant people, they may enjoy material life because they don't have the knowledge. But we see that even those who know that one can attain the ultimate goal by cultivating sattva gun, still they remain in the material existence, still they enjoy material life. This is a very important question, similar to what Arjuna asks Krishna, athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitah. Oh Krishna, why does a person, although he knows ichha na hote hue bhi, why he does pap? Uddhava is asking a similar question. He says, ignorant people, they enjoy material life. I can understand. But even those who know that, material life is not good, ultimately one has to cultivate sattva gun. Still they enjoy material life. Vidanti martya praena vishayan padamapadam tathapi bhunjate Krishna tatkatham swakharajvat. He says, human beings, they know that material life brings unhappiness. Vidanti, they know that vishayan, if you enjoy sense gratification, it will lead to misery. Very similar thing which Krishna says, yehi samsparsha bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. Uddhava is saying, human beings, they know ultimate result of sense gratification is going to be misery. Still they try to enjoy. Tathapi bhunjate. Still they try to enjoy sense gratification, O Krishna. Tat katham. How can one in knowledge act like a dog or a ass or a goat? Very important question. Very powerful question which Uddhava is asking. How can a person who is in knowledge can act like a dog, a hog, a goat, or a ass. So purport, it is described there that the standards of enjoyment in the outside world is what? Sex, money, and false prestige. These are the standards of enjoyment. If people want to enjoy in this world, they want to have more money, more sex life, and more false prestige. If people are glorifying me, I am famous, I am respected, then that is success, you know. But all of this is eventually lost, and it ultimately leads to great suffering. People know this, People know this, that if I engage in sense gratification, if I'm attached to something, I may lose it. You know, that causes great lamentation. So one who is engaged in material affairs, he suffers in the present and has a very bleak future, very, very gloomy future he has. That is how this material world is designed. So why Uddhava is saying he enjoys like a dog or an ass or a camel? So Chakravarti Thakur describes in detail why Uddhava is taking the names of these three animals. Very specific characteristics of these animals are described. He says a dog, although he's chastised, but still he eats the leftovers. Still he will come, still he will eat the leftovers, although he is chastised and scolded. Secondly, many times he is beaten by the she dog when he goes for sex life, or when uh, he goes to one she dog, other dogs they come and attack. That is the situation of a dog. What about a donkey? What about an ass? Just so Prabhupada tells one more thing, and Chakravarti Thakur describes that a donkey, he is kicked by the she donkey when he goes to her for enjoying sex life, but still he suffers all the pain and goes there again and again. And Prabhupada also gives the description that donkey carries a huge load, whole day he is carrying, and the end he gets few straws of dry grass, which is available anyways everywhere, but still he does such hard work. What about a goat? Now goat is also very important. When a goat is taken to a slaughterhouse, the goat is given few grasses to eat. The goat is so very absorbed in eating the grass, is not even realizing the goat and next is getting slaughtered. He knows he is absorbed that in the grass, that he cannot even realize that he is going to be killed. So Uddhava is asking, if by cultivating the mode of goodness, one's life is filled with happiness, enlightenment, and future rewards, right? If one cultivates mode of goodness, life will be full of happiness and the future prospects is also good. But still, why people they do not cultivate the mode of goodness? Still they cultivate mode of passion and ignorance. That is the question of Uddhava. So now Krishna starts answering. So he says, actually those who enjoy material objects, they are not learned, but they think that they are learned. So now Krishna says, now I will describe to you how they enjoy material objects. Generally, people in this world, they think they are so very learned. They criticize devotees. Oh, these people, they are wasting their life. They don't know how to enjoy. They are doing something foolish. They think that we are so very learned, we are enjoying life properly. But actually, they don't know that they are not enjoying life. They are wasting their life. So now, Krishna starts description. He says, such type of people, they think that they are learned, but actually they are not learned. They falsely identify with the body and the mind. They think aham and mameti. Whatever is going on in this world, it is happening in terms of aham mameti. This is me. Sorry, this is just a minute. Yeah. So they think in terms of me and mine, aham and mameti. And therefore, what happens? The false knowledge arises. They think, oh, this is my body, I have to take care of my body, and things which are related to this body, they are mine. Atma, Jaya, Suta, Agar, Pashu, Dravin, Bandhu, and Rajya. They think this is my property, I have to take care of it. And therefore, what happens? Material passion pervades the mind of such type of people. They are totally engrossed in, enjoyment of the senses. And therefore, what they are doing, they are busy in making all the plans for material advancement. And the result of all this is he becomes afflicted with so many materialistic desires. And as a result of that, the senses, they become completely uncontrolled and bewildered. And as a result, a living entity continues performing the material activities, although he sees that there is no future happiness, but still he tries to get the last drop of happiness from his body and from the things which are related to this body. So that is the condition of a materialistic person. So that's how Krishna is speaking now. What is the cause of unhappiness in the material life? So people, they, although sometimes they criticize material life, they criticize that, oh, there are so many miseries in the material life, but they accept it as a part of life. क्या करें, अभी सुख और दुख तो आता जाता रहेगा. We have to accept this, we cannot do anything about it. They don't know that they can come out of this. That's why they are helplessly bound. So the word used is sankalpa and vikalpa. Sankalpa means, trying, making more and more plans, and vikalpa means modifying the old plans. That is what is happening. Making new plans for enjoyment and modifying the old plans because they are not working. So that is what is happening in this material world. And the result is a person keeps trying to enjoy, although he sees that there is no future happiness. So therefore Krishna says, an intelligent person, what he should do? Intelligent person should carefully bring the mind under the control. He should try to purify the mind of all the desires of sense gratification. And therefore, this person who is intelligent, he does not become attached to sense gratification. He is so very focused to cultivate sattva guna. He is never lazy. He is never morose. He works only to fix the mind on me. So now Krishna is introducing the devotional service here. He says, such type of person, he should practice fixing the mind on me. And then he can completely become absorbed. Gradually, by the process of controlling the mind and fixing the mind on me, one will become absorbed. And therefore he says that actual Sankhya Yoga, actual yoga system was taught by Sanat Kumar to the various sages. So in the 14th verse, when Krishna, he spoke that Sanat Kumar, he taught this yoga, actual yoga. Uddhava, he gets a question. He says, this is the 6th question now in Uddhava Gita. So he says, when and in what form did you instruct the science of yoga to Sanaka and all the brothers? Yada tvam sanakadibhyo yena rupena keshava yogam adishtavan etad rupam ichhami veditum. When did you instruct to all these 4 Kumaras this knowledge? In what form you instructed this? So that is the question. That is the 6th question of Uddhava. So now, Krishna, he gives a background for the appearance of Hamsavatar. So he says, once the 4 Kumaras, headed by Sanaka, they inquired from Brahma. Very important question. The sages, the four Kumaras, they are asking. Guneshu avishyate cheto gunachetasi cha prabho katham anyonya santyago mumukshor atitirshoho. He says, Guneshu cha avishyate cheto. People's minds are attracted towards sense objects, and gunaschetasi cha prabho, and the sense objects, they enter within the mind. So this is like made for each other combination, right? The senses, the mind is attracted towards sense objects, and sense objects, they enter the mind. This is a made for each other combination. So how can a person destroy this relationship between the mind and the senses? This is a very, very important question for a sadhaka. And Krishna will describe in great detail how to do it. Now, when these four Kumaras, they asked this question to Brahmaji, Krishna says actually Brahma, when he heard this question, he contemplated. Seriously, he contemplated about this question. But because he was so very absorbed in the activities of creation, he was affected by passion. And therefore, he could not come to the conclusion. This is a very important point, Brahmaji, we have heard in the second canto in the 9th chapter, in 32nd verse, 2932, Lord himself blessed Brahmaji that you will not be bewildered, you will have realized knowledge. He blessed Brahmaji with realized knowledge. He spoke the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Then in 37th verse, Lord assured Brahma that you won't be bewildered. And even prior to that, in 34th verse, Brahma himself is telling to Narada, Na bharati me angam rishopalakshate na vai kvachin me manaso mrishagati na me rishikani patantya satpathe yanmai hridotkantyavata dhrito hari. He says, Brahmaji is telling Narada that my senses, my words, they never go in vain. My words never prove to be false. My senses, they never go towards sense gratification, and my mind do not deter from the path of religion. Brahmaji is himself saying. So then, why Brahmaji is not able to answer this question? So it is described by Chakravarti Thakur that although one may be in very, very exalted position, but there is always, at any moment, there is a danger of false pride and ignorance which arises because of it. So therefore, whoever one may be, however advanced we may be, we should never feel now we have transcended the modes. Now we can do anything we want, because one can become again engrossed with ignorance any moment. And that's the situation of Brahma now. Brahmaji is not able to answer this question. So now what Brahma did, that is also very important. As Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, when we don't know what to do, we should know what to do. So Brahmaji, when he did not know what is the answer, he meditated on the Supreme Lord. He fixed his mind on Krishna. So Supreme Lord Krishna is saying, Brahmaji fixed his mind on me, and that time I appeared in the form of Hamsa. So Krishna is telling to Uddhava that I appeared in the form of Hamsa, that is Hamsa avatar. So why particularly Hamsa avatar? Because Brahmaji's consciousness was contaminated. And the particular feature of Hamsa is, Hams can separate milk from water. So Lord appeared as Hamsa to separate the polluted consciousness of Brahma. So that is the purpose of the appearance of Lord in the form of a swan. So now when Lord appeared in the form of a swan, Brahmaji and all the sages, they got up very respectfully and they worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Hamsa. And then they asked, the sages, the four Kumaras, they asked, who are you? because they did not know he appeared as Lord appeared as Hamsa. So they asked, who are you? So now Krishna is telling to Uddhava, now please hear as I explain what I spoke to those sages. Because that was the question of Uddhava. How did you speak this knowledge to Sant Kumar, Sanaka? So Krishna is now telling to Uddhava in 21st verse. Now please hear as I explain what I told to all these sages. So, okay. So now Lord Hamsa, he is first actually questioning the question himself. He's saying, you have asked me, who am I? So are you referring to me as soul? Because are you thinking that I am somebody as a jiva, myself and all the jivas, they are same? If that is the question, then why are you asking me? Because if I am equal to you, then why one should ask some question to a equal? A question should be asked to a superior personality. So therefore your question is itself inappropriate. And then he says that Lord Hamsa says that ultimately, actually, what is a real resting place for us? What does that mean? He says, what is the actual constitutional position of myself, and what is the actual constitutional position of a soul? So resting place means, the purport describes that no one can come to rest or be satisfied unless one is in actual natural position. Unless one is situated in the natural position, he cannot be happy and peaceful and satisfied. He cannot rest. So, and he gives the example. The purport, the disciples of Prabhupada, they give an example that's just like a child who is crying. When he'll be happy and satisfied? When he goes in the embrace of his mother. That is a natural constitutional position of a child. So Hamsa is saying, if Lord and Jiva are one, then why you're asking me this question? Only a superior can answer. So therefore, this question is itself inappropriate. And then he says, if by asking me, who are you? If you are referring to this body, then you should have asked, who are you 5? Because this material body is made up of 5 elements. So just in the beginning, Lord is really chastising them, making them humble, just for the question they have asked, the way they have asked the question. He says, if you consider that all material bodies are one, then your question is still meaningless. Because there is no deep purpose in asking such question then. Therefore, you are merely speaking words. And these words have no real meaning and purpose. So Kumaras, when they heard this, they say, even if you think we are foolish, even if you think we are not learned, but still, because you have said that, you are the source of all the things, and he says, but still, because you are saying that, uh, so the Kumaras say, but even the learned use this convention in questions and answers. Because when you meet somebody, you first of all ask, who are you? And you have also said, oh Brahmana. That means you are also, telling us that we are Brahmana. So what is your problem? So Lord says, actually, my use of words is also meaningless like your words. So Lord is very heavy on all these Kumaras, chastising them. But he says, I also spoke that, oh Brahmana, but I am not speaking like you. You are ignorant, and therefore he says, then after, chastising heavily, these 4 Kumaras, they say, actually, oh Kumaras, whatever you see in this world, everything is coming from me. Whatever you perceive in this world, everything is coming from me. I am the source of all the material creation. Aham eva sameva gre, that's what Hamsa is saying. Whatever you see in this world, if it is in relation to me, then it has an existence. Otherwise, there is no existence of anything. That is again a Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Rite artham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani yad vidyadatmano maya yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. So then, after describing all this, he establishes that he is a supreme original person, everything is coming from him, and then Krishna, in the form of Hamsa, he starts answering the original question. What is the original question? Mind is attracted to sense objects, and sense objects they enter the mind. How to break this relationship? So, because now Kumaras, they are thinking that okay, you have called us as unintelligent, but still, because you have told that everything is coming from you, the mind and intelligence, they are also coming from you. So therefore, you can answer our question. So therefore, please be merciful to us and answer the question. So Lord starts replying. He says, actually, mind has a natural proclivity to enter into sense objects, and senses have a natural proclivity to enter the sense objects have a natural proclivity to enter the mind, but these are both merely designations. What does that mean? So basically, Krishna is saying, till the time we are identifying ourselves with the material body, till the time we are identifying ourselves with the mind and the senses, the mind will be attracted towards sense objects. Mind and the senses will be sense objects will be attracted towards the mind. So therefore, Krishna says that it is not possible to break this relationship. Mind will always get attracted towards sense objects. It is not possible to break this relation. Only thing you can do is you can transcend this material bondage. And what is the process? The process is, Krishna says, use your intelligence and realize my name, form in the past times. So the ultimate solution to come out of this bondage of material world is by practicing devotional service. The same thing is described in Bhagavad Gita also. Krishna says, Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhiryo buddhe paratastu saha. So Krishna is saying that higher than gross matter is the senses, higher than senses is the mind, higher than mind is the intelligence, and the soul is the highest in hierarchy. So therefore Krishna is saying, till the time one is attached to the upadhis of this world, oh, I am such and such, this is my body, I am related to this person, till that time we cannot come out of this bodily conception. Until that time we will get attracted to sense objects. So therefore Krishna is saying, use your spiritual intelligence and start practicing devotional service. As Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Evam buddhe param buddha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So yes, so Krishna is telling, this Hamsa Avatar is telling to the Kumaras that actually you have asked that the senses and the mind, the sense objects and the mind, they are closely related. How to break this relation? So Krishna is very strongly telling as Hamsa here that it is very difficult, it is not possible to break the relationship because they are naturally attracted towards each other. So what you have to do is, you have to transcend this material bondage. Use your intelligence, and one has to realize that I am not this body, I am soul, and I have to get connected to the Supreme Lord by the process of devotional service. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, use your intelligence and destroy this enemy of lust. So that's what Krishna is saying here. One should cultivate knowledge to overcome this, propensity of sense gratification. Cultivate the spiritual intelligence. Because the attraction of the mind and the sense objects, it is very, very difficult to break. Only way it is possible is we have to use the superior intelligence. That is the process of devotional service. That is the process of taking shelter of the, Supreme Lord's devotional service. So therefore, by the process of devotional service only one can develop the detachment. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagya. So Vairagya will come, Vairagya will develop automatically when one starts rendering devotional service. And then one can be situated in the spiritual consciousness always. So that is the solution which Hamsa is giving to four Kumaras, that one has to understand that Krishna's form is transcendental and one has to develop a relationship with the Supreme Lord by the process of devotional service. So therefore, Krishna says, if somebody understands my supreme transcendental nature, then one can very easily give up this attraction towards sense objects. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So that was Krishna is saying. If somebody understands my birth and my activities, he can get liberated from this material world and he does not have to take birth again. So therefore, by the process of devotional service, one can purify his mind and take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And ultimately, he can become free from the, this propensity for sense gratification. And then after describing this, Krishna elaborates more on how one becomes conditioned and what is the solution. He says actually Jiva is, what is the actual position of living entity? He is the only witness. There are three stages of a living entity. He says Jagrata, Swapna and Susupti. So these are the three phases of existence of a living entity. Awake, sleeping and deep sleep. Jagrata, Swapna, Susuptam cha gunato buddhivrittayah tasam vilakshano jiva sakshitvena vinishyatah. So living entity is actually none of these phases. The soul is just the witness of all the interactions which are happening between the modes. Waking, sleeping and deep sleep. These are the functions of intelligence. And these functions, they are caused by the three modes of material nature. Krishna says actually living entity is different from all these three states. He is only witnessing all the activities. So therefore, what happens is the soul becomes trapped in material intelligence. Till the time we are thinking we are this body, till that time we'll be trapped in this material intelligence. And material intelligence does not allow one to understand the spiritual knowledge. So therefore Krishna says that actually I am beyond all these three stages. Jagrata, Swapna and Susupti. I am not any of these stages. I am the fourth stage, that is called Turiya. Krishna says I am the fourth stage of consciousness. I am Turiya. And he says one who becomes situated in my consciousness, one who becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, that is the fourth stage, that is the Turiya stage. That is called Turiya. Turiya ne wo sabji wala Turiya nahi, Turiya. That means the fourth stage, transcendental consciousness. He says that person can very easily become free from the bondage of the material existence. At that time, a jiva, living entity, automatically renounces all the attractions of this material world and becomes fixed in devotional consciousness. But if somebody is bound by false ego, what will false ego give? He say ahankara kritam bandham atmano artha viparyayam vidwan nirvidya samsara chintam turye sitam tyajet. He says a false ego places a person in the material bondage. Till the time a person has false ego, he remains bound in this material world. And what does this false ego give? False ego awards completely opposite thing. A living entity does not is by nature Satchidanand, free, but a false ego completely gives the opposite result, binds a person. Therefore, an intelligent person, what he should do? He should give up the constant desire for material life. That is the actual benefit for a living entity. Stop desiring to be happy. That's what Prahlad Maharaj is telling to his classmates. Sukhamendriyakam daitya dehinam deh yoginam sarvatra labhyate daivad yatha dukkhamat ayatnatah. He says, oh my friends, in this world, happiness is available in all the species of life. Therefore, please do not endeavor for it. Tat prayaso na kartavyo yatha ayu vayaparam na tatha vindate shemam mukunda charanambujam. Therefore, please do not endeavor for sense gratification. So Krishna is saying here that actually an intelligent person should never endeavor for sense gratification. One should focus on the Lord who is there in the heart, who is situated in spiritual consciousness. Turiya. Chintam turiye sthitam tyajet. And if somebody is situated in this Turiya consciousness, that means Krishna consciousness, he can very easily give up this material bondage. So therefore he says, Hamsavatar is saying, therefore according to my instructions, one should fix the mind on me alone. And therefore, give up this material bondage. But if one continues to be in this material consciousness, if one continues to see things in relation to the body, then what will happen? He will stay in this material world, and it is actually like dreaming. Just as one may think that one has come out of the bondage, but actually it is not. For example, in the dream, sometimes some dreams that he has awakened in the dream only. So it is not possible that in this material world, if somebody is not surrendering to Krishna, he can be free from the bondage. No. One can only dream that they are free. One can falsely say that they are free. Nobody is free in this world. That is what is described here by Hamsavatar. So the sages, they may think, how can one reject persons whose minds think in terms of variety, in terms of varnashram, which is recommended in the Vedas? So Krishna says, actually, one cannot exist without Supreme Lord. Because if somebody is not surrendering to the Supreme Lord, he cannot be actually happy in this material world. Only because of material illusion, one thinks that I am this body and I can enjoy in this world. So therefore, ultimately, till the time we are identifying with the body, identifying with the mind, such identification will create more and more illusion. And therefore, Krishna says that, now, by remembering and contemplating on the lotus feet of the Lord, one can become free from this bondage. And therefore, he can become completely transcendental in his consciousness. And he can become the Lord of all the senses. So therefore, now the sages may be thinking, what should we do now? So in the 33rd verse, Krishna says, Hamsavatar is saying, cut off this false ego with the axe of knowledge. He says, you should understand that the three stages of intelligence, three stages, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, they are created by my avidya, because they are transformation of the three gunas which is created by my avidya. One should be firmly convinced about the nature of Atma, and with the help of the sword of knowledge which comes from the scriptures, one should destroy all the doubts and worship me. That is the same thing which Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam ritsam jnana asinatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam atishtottishta bharata. Fourth chapter end, Krishna says, O Bharata, with the sword of knowledge, cut this doubt which has arisen in your mind. Krishna is saying, Hamsavatar is saying the same thing here. Cut this false ego which is with the sword of knowledge. Use your spiritual intelligence to destroy this doubt which has come. This consciousness, this material consciousness which is covering a living entity is the cause of bondage. With the knowledge of scriptures, destroy this bondage, destroy this doubt. And then he describes some additional processes for transcending the illusory interaction. He says different modes, they create different types of consciousness in this world. But actually the spirit soul is pure. Spirit soul is pure, but because of the interaction with the various modes, a spirit soul takes various types of bodies and various forms in the various species of life. So therefore it is said there, described there, that one should carefully study the flickering, here today, gone tomorrow nature of the material world. That is how flickering the material world is. Here today, gone tomorrow. One should contemplate on this very temporary nature of the material world, and therefore become completely detached from sense gratification. Become focused on the process of self-realization and experience the happiness of soul. That is called the ananda which is coming from the soul. And therefore one should give up all the material activities, all the material speaking and the material desires. One should not get attracted to them. One should learn how to focus the mind on the Supreme Lord by the process of devotional service. One should always remember the futility of the material world. This is very important. We know that this material world is miserable, but still our mind gets attracted to sense gratification. We have to again and again remember the futility of the material world. That is a sadhana, that is a process, that is the recommended, thought process of a devotee. Again and again one should contemplate up to the point of death. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Till when you have to tolerate? Shaknoti hai yashodum praksharir vimokshanat kama krodhodbhavam vegam sayukta sasukhi naraha. One who contemplates that, one who keeps tolerating the urges of the mind, urges of the senses, and keeps contemplating about the futility of the material world, material happiness, he can become focused. He will not fall into illusion. Sayukta Sasukhinara. He'll be one with the Lord. He'll be happy. Therefore, he says, when a person becomes liberated, he does not even realize that he is changing his material body. Just like there are many great personalities who, even though in the last stages of life, when they were in intense pain, they were completely aloof. And there are many Srila Prabhupada disciples who have shown such consciousness. Ihayasya harer dasya karmana manasagira nikhilaswapi avastasu jivan mukta sauchyate. The person who lives his whole life serving the Supreme Lord, he is liberated while he is in this body. And therefore Krishna says, this Hamsavatar says, one should live in this body as long as the karma is there. Because till the time we have this karma, we have to live in this body. And somebody may say, the sages, they may think, oh, if we continue to live in the body, will we become attached again? Will that person become attached again? He says, no. Because although a living entity living in this body, he is not attracted towards sense gratification. He does not enjoy the body. He is living in the body, he does not enjoy the body. Just as a person who is awakened from the sleep, does not experience the body which he saw in the sleep, similarly, a liberated soul does not get attached to the body. After speaking all this, Hamsavatar, he speaks about his identity. He says, O Brahmanas, I am Vishnu. I am Vishnu who have come to fulfill the desires. I have come to teach you the philosophy of Sankhya, and I have spoken to you this most confidential knowledge, and I am the one who is the source of this Ashtanga Yoga. And then he says, I am the supreme shelter of this yoga system, analytical philosophy, seeing equally, speaking pleasantly, influence, beauty, fame, and self-control. All the superior qualities which you see in this world, equality, and many more, they reside in me. He says, I am beyond all these material gunas. And after speaking all this, now Krishna concludes the discussion by telling that, dear Uddhava, after hearing the whole discussion from Hamsavatar, the doubts of the four Kumaras, they were dispelled. And the sages, they chanted my glories. So Krishna is saying, because Hamsavatar and he is non-different, he says, the sages, they chanted my glories with devotion, with excellent hymns. They worshipped me and glorified me. And as the Brahma and all the sages, they looked on, I returned to my abode. So that is the end of the 13th chapter. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. There is a question. Just in order to not get bound by our karma, the solution is kam karma. What is the solution to get above the modes of material nature? As Krishna says very wonderfully in Bhagavad Gita, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunana samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. A devotee does not have to do any extra endeavor for any achievement. Tomorrow we'll be discussing beautiful section where Krishna will describe that whatever a devotee wants through all the other processes he can attain. So transcending the modes of nature happens automatically for a devotee. So we don't have to do anything extra endeavor to transcend the modes. The process itself transcends us from the modes of material nature. The more we become purified, the more we become transcendental to the modes. Second question is, if someone has mode of passion in predominance, what should one do? Either try to use that passion in service, or should we try to shift in the mode of goodness? Okay. So basically, see, passion per se is not wrong. Ignorance per se is not wrong. We need passion, we need ignorance also. To sleep, we need ignorance, right? We cannot always be awake. To do some active work, to create something requires passion. Arjuna was not, happily shooting the arrows. He was very passionate, angry. So therefore, all the gunas, all the modes, they are there always in a conditioned soul. But the predominant guna should be the mode of goodness. That's how it is very, very conducive to cultivate this mode of goodness. Otherwise, if somebody is always passionate, passion means I want more. Lobha, and that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that yada sattve pravriddhetu pralayam yati dehabhit taduttama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate. So if somebody is more and more passionate, he develops a desire to work more and more. He has unlimited desires, So that is not recommended. That is not conducive for practice of Krishna consciousness. So a devotee tries to cultivate sattva guna, and of course the passion and ignorance, they have to be there when needed. We cannot just become aloof from all these. Somebody cannot artificially say, no, I'll not sleep. No, we have to sleep, but we have to use it in service of Krishna. We don't sleep too much, don't sleep too less. So that is what is required. So basically we have to live our life, mold our life in such a way that we cultivate qualities of mode of goodness, do things in the mode of goodness, and starting from getting up, the music which we are hearing, the kind of worship which we are doing, attitudes which we have, if we have arrogant attitude, if we are thinking I am the doer, that is not a conducive attitude. So basically the mode of goodness has to be cultivated. So the modes define consciousness. Please explain this statement. Yeah. So basically, if we are in a particular type of mode, our consciousness gets affected, right? If somebody is in the mode of ignorance, always sleepy, lazy, you know, then he cannot think properly. He'll always procrastinate things. If somebody is passionate, he'll have many desires. That's why he will become more and more attached to sense gratification. And the person in the mode of goodness naturally likes to know things, you know. That is what yada sattve pravridhetu, the verse says, when the mode of goodness becomes prominent, the all the gates of the body become illuminated with the knowledge, you know. Vivriddhe kurunandana, when the yada, I'm forgetting the verse, you know. The verse says when the mode of goodness becomes prominent, all the things, all the gates become illuminated. That means we can see things as they are. Our consciousness will be very clear. We can analyze the world in right consciousness. So that's what is described by the word, you know, by the statement. The modes, they define the consciousness. Okay, so any other questions? I will stop here. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.